Welcome back to the Proper Thieves podcast. Hope you guys have enjoyed the show so far. This episode, we have one of my good friends, Mr. Bryce Mathis. He's got a really crazy story to tell, and I really hope you guys enjoyed the conversation as much as we did. If you do end up being entertained by this episode, if you're on YouTube, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment. It really helps the algorithm out for us. If you're on Spotify, make sure to leave a 5-star review. Thank you guys so much for the support. Hope y'all enjoy.
There was a UT football player, Cedric Benson, that died in Austin in a motorcycle wreck. Mm-hmm. And it was right outside my old station. Like, my old lieutenant was the one that actually responded to it and stuff. And there was they didn't put this in the news, but there was a girl with him too that died. And then there was no mention of her. And I guess that was kind of like somewhat of a controversial thing because he was like a football player. They were trying to.
Well, okay. So, similar to that, the football player involved in my thing, had allegedly, because he got off from it, raped a girl.
Okay.
And it never came out in public or news about it, but he bragged about it on plenty of times about
For like doing it for real?
No, he bragged about how nobody in Mississippi wants to touch him because he's, the golden child or whatever, so to speak.
It's like one of the when you talk like that, it's like double daring fate to try to one up you. Yeah,
Well, yeah. So
you get people asking you all the time about what happened. Let's just clear the air one time. Let's start from the very beginning. What the fuck happened?
So in January of that year, or January of 22, the guys in our holding company, we were trying to talk about different businesses that had, high up in, positive returns potential, and so we were like, what can we do? And we had been talking about medical cannabis, and we were, we had some lobbying group that we had, dealt with, that we talked to, that actually was helping write some of the law for it and things like that. It had not become legal yet. They were just still in the, preliminary talks of it at the time.
What year was this?
This is 22.
Okay.
Yep. So, we're just talking about it, whatever. Well, then the law passes. It starts. Things actually start waking up on that end.
This is in Texas?
This is in Mississippi.
Okay.
And, as things kind of start, progressing, we went to the county board of supervisors because I was going to try to bring this industry to my hometown. Like, I wanted to kind of bring a new industry to the town. And so we went to the board of supervisors. We got unanimous approval from them. And we kept getting some pushback from the board-appointed attorney, which was whatever. His house was like right next to it anyway, so I kind of felt like that was probably the reason he didn't want a cannabis, manufacturing facility right next to his house. Maybe,
Yeah.
You could guess whatever, but we were just getting pushed back. But after the newspaper release, though, that we were going to be doing this, I got reached out to by a gentleman that he was like a local hometown hero. He was, one of those stud NFL players that, he made it out. He was a good college or a good high school player. He made it to college, had some issues with the NCAA. They went back and forth, and then he ended up getting enrolled into college and then, making it to the NFL. And it was like one of those great success stories.
Right.
And so he reached out and was wanting to help us with doing the fencing around, because you have to be very, very well protected. It's got to, you got to have double rows of, double fence, barbed wire, razor wire.
Okay.
Like it's got to be very well protected, like the whole entire operation.
Yeah.
Because even your waste is highly regulated.
Really?
And so he was wanting to help us do that, and so I told him, I said, well, I'm in town, let's meet up. We'll sit down, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
So we did, and after sitting down and talking for a little bit, he was like, man, I've got a lot of NFL friends. He said, have y'all raised your money for the project yet? Do y'all need help? He said, I've got a lot of ex-NFL player friends that would definitely be interested in a project like this. And I said, man, anything to help. We haven't even started yet. We wanted to get approval first and then raise money. We weren't going to raise money and then find out that we weren't even approved to do, something like that in the county. So, kind of pressing along on that. We had our preliminary meeting. It went moderately well. We kind of worked some bugs out of our, our presentation and things like that.
Right.
And, went back and forth. We started dirt work out of our own pocket.
Yeah.
On the facility and things like that. Started it out of our own pocket and finished it, with some investment money later that year. But we then had another meeting in October with a large group of ex-NFL players. We're pretty successful with that.
How much money were you trying to raise, just out of curiosity?
Well, so initially we were trying to raise $50 million.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we adjusted some numbers and things like that as time went on. Based off of different metrics. So like we had options to go to a different facility that was already up, so we wouldn't have to build a brand new facility, and we could just move into there and just secure it, like the perimeter of it, so that nothing could sneak out.
Yeah.
And then still be good, and that would have cost us significantly less. There was a lot of different options on the table that we were kind of evaluating based off of, how much money we were able to successfully raise. After the meeting, though, in Houston, with all the ex-NFL players and things like that, there was a lady, her and her husband were entrepreneurs as well. They'd owned several different businesses and things like that. And she approached us about, like all the different ways that we could, potentially take this thing and make it really big. And she even made mention that she would come on board and help us. And she was really knowledgeable. I really didn't have time to be the CEO of it. The guy that we had appointed, like he was more or less for the company over that vertical. It was being in charge was new to him, so nothing against him, but it was beneficial for someone with a lot of experience like that.
Yeah.
To come on and help.
But overwhelming for somebody that's super new.
It was definitely overwhelming for somebody that's new to business, especially. And so, to no fault of his own, I mean, he did an excellent job. He kicked butt the whole time that he was, involved in the project.
Yeah.
It just was, it was a high stress situation. So, anyways, that was in October. As time kind of progressed on, we brought that lady on as our CEO, and paid her well for that. And then I guess it was the beginning of January, they wanted to meet with me. It was national championship, Georgia versus TCU.
Yeah.
And I had found out that I had a mass on my small intestine, and so I was having surgery on that Tuesday. On that Monday, they wanted to meet and just go over everything. So we went and met at one of the potential facilities that we were looking at up in Quitman, and we were looking through it, talking to the owner of the building, kind of evaluating, mapping, just kind of getting an idea of if we wanted to go that route or not. We had, like I said, we've been getting some pushback from the board-appointed attorney in Wayne County, and so it was just like, we may go this way. We're just trying to more or less keep our options open.
Right.
And so on that Monday night, we sat down, and we sat down at Buffalo Wild Wings. It was too loud, so we ended up walking across to the Holiday Inn that was right there next to it, and we were just sitting there in the lobby talking and things like that, and things got kind of heated. The CEO, she had brought a few investors they had put up the initial $300,000, which had more or less it had paid off all of our debt. It had wiped our debt, and then it had paid her salary for about 3 months. But that was essentially all it did. The next wave of funding would do the next wave of things for the facility. And so she was like, my investor friends want their money back. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, that's, unfortunate, but, we could potentially shuffle some things around. We got people within the group that still, were very interested in it. So it wasn't like a loss necessarily.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, they need to send me an email or a text message saying that because, I told, and this is what I told them. I said, they didn't give their money to you to give to the company or give to us.
Yeah.
I can't give their money to you to give back to them.
Yeah.
It needs to, there's got to be, and if they want their money to go to you to give back to them, they need to send that to me in writing.
Yeah.
Of some sort. Well, they didn't like that. They were really upset about that.
It's a pretty standard ask, I would think.
It's very standard. At the time, I was just like, okay, well, but they were the type too that
You're in a Holiday Inn lobby.
yeah,
right
and
now.
they're yelling and acting crazy, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, I'm having surgery the next day. I don't know how bad, if I'm gonna have to have like chemo, radiation, things like that. I'm not really in the headspace for all this, anyways.
Right.
Yeah.
But to each their own. It is what it is. So, they're kind of going off. I'm thinking that it's pretty weird that they're going off the way that they are, but whatever. We ended up getting out of there and went home. Next morning, I got up. I had surgery. They tried to call and get up with me, things like that, I think. But, I mean, I was pretty much out of it the rest of that day.
Yeah.
So I had surgery that day, went home, rested, slept, got up the next day about, lunchish. I was still sleeping off the anesthesia and stuff like that for the most part. And my dad had come over to help take care of my animals, my dogs and stuff like that. And so I was outside with him, just standing propped up against his truck.
Yeah.
And two of them came pulling up into the yard. Well, it's not unusual. They brought a wine cake for, a get well cake type thing. And they brought it.
That was nice of them.
Yeah, and gave it to my ex-wife, and she took it inside, and they, sat there and talked, and we walked down, and we looked at our cows, and, we were just talking. It wasn't nothing crazy, this, that, and the other. Well, then they wanted me to go eat with them. They were like, we got a lot to talk about. Those two had been traveling to different dispensaries and different, like doctor's offices that were going to be prescribing, and just kind of getting a feel for what the state was going to look like. Because at this point, it still hadn't went live yet either.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to get like a good feel for how everything was going to go. So they were like, we've got a lot to talk about, this, that, and the other. Why don't we go eat somewhere? And I was like, well, where you want to go eat? They wanted to go to Laurel, which is right up the road, about 30 minutes from the house. So went and rode with them up there, and on the way we're just talking about.
And you just had like basically abdominal surgery.
Yeah, but at this point too,
Are you able to walk, or do you have crutches? Or
no, I'm able to walk. My stomach has started waking up by this point, and they told me I was going to be super hungry whenever that happened.
Yeah.
So, for me, it was like, okay, we'll go get something to eat, and I'll come back. Ain't no big deal. Well, on the way there, we get into Laurel, and the one of them says that they have to use the restroom. So I'm like, that's fine, because I got to use the restroom too. So we stop at this pharmacy, and they run in to use the restroom. I go in to use the restroom. Well, whenever I come out, the ex-NFL player, who I wasn't talking to because he'd had a real bad attitude about everything and been acting kind of crazy. And I hadn't been talking to him because I just didn't have the capacity to talk to him. I was going through way too much to have to deal with his stupidity at that particular point in time.
Yeah.
He pulls up into the parking lot. I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Out of
kind
nowhere, huh?
of, like, I smelled a rat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, so I go back inside, and I call my business partner. He lives, 5-10 minutes from there. I'm like, hey, why don't you come ride with us and go eat? Make me feel better.
Yeah.
Because I'm feeling like I'm about to get. I don't think anything about kidnapping. I don't think anything about.
You just get weird vibes.
I feel like I'm probably about to get yelled at,
Okay.
and I don't have the capacity to deal with being fussed at and jumped on and talked about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That type of thing. I just, so I'm like, I'll ride with you. If they get sideways, I'm gonna need you to just take me home.
Yeah.
And so he comes up there, and as he pulls in, I come back out. And we're going to the vehicles to go eat, and I go to get in the vehicle with my business partner, and the one tells me, he says, no, these two need to talk to you about something. He's like, you need to get in there with them. They're wanting to talk to you on the way to the. They didn't want my business partner to hear, I guess, supposedly, is the way they made it sound. I'm like,
Yeah.
whatever. So I get in to the front of that seat. Well, the two that he said needed to talk to me, she goes to get in the back seat, and he goes, hey, you just take my car. Let me ride with him. I want to talk to him first. And so I'm like trying to find the handle on the door,
Yeah.
Like, it's a Tesla that we're
It's
in.
getting weird.
We're in
Okay.
a Tesla.
Yeah.
I'm not real familiar with a Tesla, but I can't really get out. And I'm like, well, then as soon as we put it in reverse, we get rolling. He goes, lose them. And I'm like, crap. I don't know what's going on, but it's not good if he's wanting to lose the bunch.
And it's just you and this guy right now.
Well, it's me, him, and then the guy that drove.
Oh, in the backseat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they take some back roads, swerve. They end up losing my business partner, and then the one comes from over the back, and he just hooks me, and then hits over the seat and hits me in my stomach, and so I'm like,
Oh my God.
I'm hurting. And they think I'm faking it. They don't think I had surgery because they had tried to find me at the hospital the day before. I didn't know this until afterwards.
Really?
But they tried to find me at the hospital the day before, and the hospital wouldn't give them any information because of HIPAA.
Yeah.
Because they're not
Not
allowed
family.
to. Yeah, exactly. And so they thought that the whole thing was just a ruse for me to, I don't know.
Avoid
They
them
had,
or some shit?
They had concocted this whole entire thing in their head and sold themselves on it.
Yeah.
And so, ended up, they grabbed me. He's telling me, how I'm going to die. I can cooperate. If I cooperate, at least my children will make it. And my at the time my wife, and
Holy shit.
yeah. So I'm like, okay. So I'm pretty compliant.
Yeah.
We go to a gas station. They sit there for, it had to have been at least 2 hours. I don't know. They took my phones away from me. Wouldn't let me have that. They were texting people back and forth off of my phone. Acting like they were me.
Yeah.
What were they saying?
Well, they just responded. So, my mom was like, "They're basically kidnapping you. You're not even off of doctor's orders. You need to have these. You need to press charges on these people." And they were responding like, "No, ma'am. I went. What was it? I went complicitly, or I went on my own free will, and this, that, and the other." But you can tell too, though, because the person that was texting, there was one particular message to my dad that was, "You've texted me before, so you know how I text.
Yeah.
I text if
In
I'm
a
not
certain way. Yeah.
and if I'm not in a super big hurry, I have proper punctuation.
Yeah.
Things like that. He texted it GON gonna be, aight, and this, that, and the other. It's day, money, blah blah blah. This, that, and the other. That's what he was texting my dad.
Yeah.
So everybody kind of knows something's up, but they're not really sure what's going on. And to be honest with you, nobody would have ever thought of a kidnapping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, nobody would have thought that.
Not in Mississippi.
Not in Mississippi. These people they had been to my house before. You know what I mean? It's things like that. It's people that I've been spending a lot of time with.
Yeah.
For one reason or another that had been, not really necessarily involved. Like they claimed in one of the articles that they were investors. They didn't invest a dime.
Yeah.
None of them invested a dime. We paid two of the ones that were involved in the kidnapping. We paid two of them as one of them as a consultant, one of them as our CEO. Her husband, the CEO, he didn't get paid anything, but he was helping her, with all that stuff.
Yeah.
The other person that ended up getting arrested was the court-appointed attorney that was giving us all the issues and headaches. He had been messaging. He had sent pictures of my house to him.
Really?
He had sent, and give him the schedule for my kids being dropped off at school.
What?
No
yeah,
way.
and they had texted all this.
Did he know
any of
what
that.
he was doing, or was he just kind of
I don't
blindly answering?
I don't necessarily think he knew.
Yeah.
I think he was just an idiot and thought he was going to get involved in something. He didn't want it to be there in the first place. You know what I mean? So he was doing anything he could to help. I don't think he realized the extent of what he was doing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he get
Oops.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Which I don't know how a lawyer, could be so stupid, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, I can think of one good lawyer in Waynesboro, so, there's not very many of them.
Yeah.
And it may even be his dad, and that's it. But no, but nevertheless, in the articles they've said to be investors like the one NFL player, he had used one of my phones, like a couple weeks prior, and whenever he used it, he put a SIM card in my phone,
Wow.
and so whenever he put a SIM card in there, I get all of his voicemails from forever.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he mean to do that so he could make some calls, or would he do that like in
He
secret?
did it because his phone messed up and he needed a phone.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and so we were in Vegas and then LA at the time, and so he needed a phone, so he used my spare. And because whenever you're in business like we're in business, you got to have a backup phone pretty much, because the things end whenever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You may not be using it all the time, or you may call one of them your personal, but if you're not able to have constant communication, like the amount of things that can go wrong in such a short period of time whenever you're not involved, it's just too risky to not have two phones.
Yeah.
So, at that particular point in time, he used my backup phone, and whenever his voicemails came on, his agent from like right after he got out of the NFL was on there talking about how broke he was and how you can't blame me for buying vehicles for your mom and for this person and that person and spending. I didn't spend all your money. He said you average like $1 million a year, $500,000 a year, whatever. He said that's more than most people make in their entire lifetime. And he was but just boiling it down to him as more evidence that he doesn't have the money that he
claimed he did,
or he puts off a good public perception that he does.
I got you.
But like he still owes me money. He owes one of my business partners money right now. Will we ever see that back? I won't. My business partner may get his. Eventually. I mean, I don't want to even talk to the guy.
Yeah.
But just to clarify that part, because I know that's been said a lot. Each one of these people that were involved, the only ones I knew were involved were the two that did the kidnapping, the CEO and that husband of the CEO.
So the CEO woman was involved in this.
Yeah, they were. So the CEO and the husband were talking to the two kidnappers, telling them what to do, how to make it look like it was like I'm complicit, so that the cops will sweep it under the rug.
Wow.
Like basically, whenever we finally did go to the bank, on the way to the bank, the husband said, "Don't take your eyes off of him for a second. The people like that are slippery. He'll be out the back door and gone. You'll never see him again." Like that type of thing.
Wow.
Like he was, he was very much involved in the entire thing. They knew what was going on and didn't care. In fact, the CEO made the comment over the phone. I'm sitting there. I'm dead. In their mind, I'm a dead man.
Yeah.
They're bragging about like illegal activity that they've done and things like that. That they don't think I'm ever going to be able to tell because I'm dead. And so she makes the comment during that after they grabbed me, because I don't know that they intended for them to grab me when they did. Maybe later, but I think that the particular one that grabbed me jumped the gun a little bit.
Okay.
And so she made the comment. She said, "Well, you've gone too far now. Now we've got to find something to do with him." So she made that comment the very first night.
Wow.
So, and then they were talking about my kids and this and that and the other, about how they were going to grab my ex-wife and my kids. So of
Are you
course,
serious?
So of course I'm going to comply.
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. This is kind of on a more spiritual note. My mom at 2:00 in the morning, she got an idea that something's wrong. Doesn't know exactly, but at 2:00 in the morning, she wakes up and she just feels the need to pray. And so she starts praying. Well, around that same time frame, that same window of time, somebody comes to my neighbor's house and knocks on my neighbor's door, right next to where my wife and my kids are. Right next door, they came and they knocked on that house. And
they got the wrong address.
they got the wrong address. At the same time, my mom's up in the middle of the night praying.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Wow.
So they very well could have grabbed my wife and my kids at the time.
I went at 2 a.m. and we're
At 2:30. It was early in the morning. I don't know exactly when, but
Did anything happen to the
Middle of the night.
neighbors, or was it?
no, nothing. They didn't answer the door, and then
Okay.
they ended up leaving. The neighbor's got a real big dog,
Okay.
and so I mean I don't know if that played any kind of
Yeah.
part, but they weren't going to answer the door regardless.
Yeah.
So, but nevertheless, that was something that pretty powerful that that happened during that whole entire thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole thing was weird though.
Yeah.
well. So you said they took you to the bank?
Yeah.
How long did this entire thing last?
So they grabbed me in the afternoon. I think it was over by the next afternoon, by 3:00, something
Okay.
like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So all this was happening like within a
24 hour span.
Yeah,
or
And
something
you're
like
just in the
that.
Tesla.
like we sat at the gas station because like one of the things in one of the articles it says that whenever we made it to the bank was closed. They never made it to the bank that night.
Yeah.
Where they sat at the gas station parking lot trying to figure out what to do with me. The guy that kidnapped me called one of his buddies that had a house like in the middle of nowhere, and when they were planning on taking me there and let me hang out there for a while, and whatever happened there.
Mm-hmm.
But then we went to Meridian because they had to charge the Tesla and there wasn't any chargers in Laurel. There was chargers in Meridian though, so they went to Meridian, and then along the way they made sure that I was videoed being complicit with them. Like we went to a gas station, used the restroom. They wanted them to see me walk in with them, walk out with them, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And they're just recording this like it's a candid video.
No, you just got it on the. They wanted to.
Oh, on the Tesla.
Not on the Tesla, on the gas station cameras. Like they wanted these different areas to see me.
Did they have any weapons on them or anything?
I don't know if they did or didn't. I couldn't have fought them anyways.
Did they say anything? They make threats like that?
No, but you got a 320-pound ex-NFL player. I mean, he's got a lot of. And then you just had surgery.
You just had surgery, yeah.
The day before. You're not doing much.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even want to spar if I had like a cold.
Yeah.
No.
Much less fight for my life after surgery.
No, absolutely. Well, but then on top of that, they could have come in there like completely naked and not had anything. And you tell me that you've got my wife and my kids, I'm going to go with you.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, it kind of we rocked on a little bit. After we left Meridian, they were driving towards Jackson, and we got to this little town called Pearl, and he told the guy that was driving to pull over. The guy that was driving didn't want to be a part of it either. He was crying the whole time.
Really?
Yeah.
He didn't really want to, but it was like one of those situations where
It's too far gone.
he was too far gone. He was already involved by that point. So
Yeah.
he was like, he didn't like. He told me at one point in time, he was like, I want to knock your teeth down your throat and give you a hug at the same time. He's like, because I feel so bad for you, but I hate you so much for getting me involved in this.
Yeah.
I'm like,
To the friend or to you?
to me.
Like it's your fault.
Yeah, like it's my fault that I got kidnapped. But it is what it is though. But I mean, so then that night, I was hurting. I was hurting really bad. And
Had it busted open?
they hadn't yet at that particular point in time. But they didn't believe that the stitches were real. So that was not stitches, but it was glue, or sutured, whatever. I think they had stitches on the inside and then glue on the outside.
Okay.
And so they did end up busting that open, playing with it. But because
What do you mean?
they thought it was fake.
Were they like sticking their fingers in there?
Yeah. Like
God.
just because they were like, did you do this to yourself? I'm like, why would I do this to myself? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't know you were going to kidnap me. And that's literally what I told them. Like, I didn't, how was I supposed to know y'all were going to come kidnap me? Like, even if it was like, even if all this thing that you've built up and created in your head were true, like, how would I have known that you were going to kidnap me? Do you think that I would have let you kidnap me if I'd have known you were going to kidnap me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was kind of one of the things that I was telling him too. Well, then they offered, the one that kidnapped me, he offered, because he knows a bunch of people in the drug world, I guess. But he offered to get me some homemade Percocets to make me feel better.
Homemade Percocet.
Yeah, from somebody up around the Jackson area where we were at. And I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll just.
Very polite of you.
Yeah, that's an easy way to
I'll just
get
die.
rid of you.
I'll just die, in pain. And
Yeah,
sin.
right. To give like an OD on medicine or something.
But nevertheless, so I respectfully declined that.
Yeah.
Then the next morning, he laid across my legs. Everybody makes fun of that part. I've noticed a lot of people making jokes about that. He did lay across my legs because there was only 2 beds in there, and I couldn't run anyways. So like it would have took a lot of like I don't know if you've ever had stomach surgery,
No.
but to do any kind of leg workout that causes any kind of abdominal strain or stress.
Incredibly painful.
So if I were to try to pull my legs out from underneath him, first of all, it's going to hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Second of all, it's going to wake him up because he's sleeping across them. He took a pillow, laid him on my legs, and then he laid just like this on top of it.
Yeah.
It wasn't nothing unbearably painful or anything like that.
Yeah.
I was in pain from having stomach surgery the day before.
Yeah.
And so the next morning, they were talking about they wanted this amount of money, that amount of money. And that
How
was
much
the
did
thing.
they ask for?
Well, so initially they were asking for the $300,000 that investment group had put in. That was the initial amount. Well, then they started calling all these other people, and the guy that kidnapped me is like, if I get this much money out of him, and give to you, will you give me this much back? So like if I get 200,000, will you give me 20? If I get 250, will you give me 25? And just different things like that.
Yeah.
Because what they had done is they had talked to other people that we were involved with, that were not disgruntled, that we didn't have a problem with, and told them that we were basically stealing from them.
Yeah.
And made them believe that we were stealing from them. And then, you get what I'm saying? So now these people are like, well, absolutely, I want my money back.
Yeah.
But then after the fact, after you sit down and you observe the situation, the circumstance, it's like, okay, well, anybody with a brain could determine that. Oh, wow, all these different things, and you've been around too. It's not like I don't have time.
Yeah.
To go and create this.
Be scamming people.
Exactly.
For a few $100,000.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I mean, well, if we're gonna hit a lick, we're gonna hit a lick and disappear.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Not really. But but that's the thing. Like, where you. I think the total amount that they come up with or something like that in the first article was like 1.2 million or something like that.
Yeah.
Was what the total that they were trying to get out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And man, it was just like my whole entire thought process was, my kids and my wife at the time, and how am I gonna figure out how to get them out of this?
Yeah.
Not so much me, but how can I get them out of this? Because I would have done what I had to do. I just found a way to get them whatever amount of money they needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd have found a way. Now, granted, the account that they were trying to get me to get money out of had like 98 cents in it at the time.
Really?
I wasn't taking them to a bank that had money in it.
Yeah.
By no means.
Yeah.
But whenever we got there, though, I convinced them to take me to the bank because big. I mean, you really can't anymore unless you got your online banking set up. You can send wires and stuff like that. But for what they were wanting, they didn't need wires because wires are traceable.
Yeah.
They needed something that was not going to be traceable.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? You have to go to the bank, get a cashier's check, things like that, and then there's some steps. But it's a lot easier with a cashier's check than it is with a wire.
Yeah.
So we end up, they get me to the bank, and I, fill out the bank slip, put 911 on it, slide it to the teller. Teller has no idea what I'm talking about. And she goes, sir, your account number's like X amount of digits long. That's only 3. I'm like, oh, my bad. 911. Slid it to her again.
Circle explanation point.
Like, she still doesn't understand. And I'm like,
wow.
Oh my God. Because he's sitting there with me. Like, he's in the bank with me watching.
Yeah.
Okay.
And things like that. And at this point in time, too, I still don't know if he's got my kids and my wife.
Yeah.
So I'm just, like, trying to be as discreet as possible. This, that, and the other. Well, after a couple tries, I was like, you think you can get your manager? And so she gets her manager. I slide it to the manager. The manager looks at me, and she looks at him. And I just gave her, like, a little nod. And she said, well, for transactions of this amount, you've got to come in here because we've got to, verify it higher up, basically.
Yeah.
And
Smart,
so she's like, so you need to come in here. So we go into her office, and I sit down with her. And she starts acting like she's typing on the computer, and she's talking to me the whole time. She was excellent. And she, she was like, so what's going on? And I said, well, they kidnapped me yesterday from my house. And I said, I went with them from my house, but then they kidnapped me after, we got to a different town. And I said, I'm from Waynesboro. I'm not even from here. I said, I had surgery the day before yesterday. And I said, I'm hurting pretty bad right now. I said, but they claim they got my wife and my kids. And I need you to check and see if they do. Because if they do, I don't want you doing anything. I'm leaving here with them. And I told her that specifically. Like, I'll leave here with these people if they've got my wife and my kids. And so she said, well, what's their phone number? So she calls my wife. My wife doesn't answer. She's at a doctor's appointment. She's pregnant with our 3rd child at the time. And so she's at a doctor's appointment, so she doesn't answer. So I have her call my mom and my dad. Well, my mom's, she's either got or she's planning to pick up my kids from school. And she's fine. She knows that my dad's fine. Then I had her call my business partner, the one that had followed us and then couldn't keep up because I didn't know if they grabbed him too.
Yeah.
And he was fine. So I waited. We were in there for a few minutes waiting on, because she was like, what do you want me to do? And I said, until I hear from my wife, I don't want to do anything. And so finally we get in contact with my wife, and they round everybody up. They get all the kids together, make sure everybody's rounded up. And I said, okay, now you can call 911. Well, then they ushered me to the back, and then they ended up making the arrests and stuff like that. And in fact, one of the reasons too that I feel like that they may have rushed the kidnapping, I don't know if they meant to do it when they did it, maybe later, this, that, and the other. The CEO's clothes, like from the day before, because she had been riding around in that same car that I was kidnapped in, she never even got them out of it. They were in the car whenever they arrested. It was part of evidence.
Interesting.
They put her clothes in there too. So, who knows? I don't know all the details. I only knew that those 4 were even involved.
Yeah.
And then I'm I was told by the police department there either I could go into WITSEC with my family, which my wife at the time would not do.
That's witness like protection?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why
Yeah.
wouldn't she do it?
She refused to because then you can't talk to your family. And she refused to do that. So I could either go into witness protection, during that period of time, or I could disappear on my own and bug out.
Yeah.
And so she wouldn't go into witness protection, so I bugged out. We were gone. So, we're sitting, almost in Canada, just hanging out, and then find out that they, in the middle of the night, the U.S. Marshals came and arrested the board-appointed attorney.
Okay.
And so that's how I found out he was even involved. And it wasn't until talking to the detectives and stuff, they were asking me questions like, why would he have pictures? Why would he have been sending pictures on, of your house and of your kids being dropped off, or your kids' school schedule to your kidnappers and this, that, and other? I said, I have no idea. Because I still, to this day, I don't understand why you would even, involve kids and things like that.
Yeah.
And he was talking about too. So at that particular point in time, I had put a lot of my own personal money into the business, as well as there was a lot of investment money, but I'd near about depleted myself at the time. At different points in time, like I might get a payment come in, and I finally get to pay myself back, and then I have money in the bank. But there were a lot of like bleak months, and so I'd fallen behind on by I don't know how many months, maybe a month or two, on my child's private school bill. And he was even talking about that. And I'm thinking to myself, if I was embezzling, this is just me thinking while I'm up there just hanging out, if I had done what they accused me of, why would I be behind on any bills?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why would, especially not my kid's private school bill, why would that not be paid?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, a lot of the stuff that they were accusing me of didn't make sense, but they were the ones controlling the narrative.
They were accusing you of just basically stealing their investment.
And then going on lavish trips and things like that. Like one of the guys that made a comment, he said that I took his $50,000 and I went on a lavish trip. The guy wanted to invest. He invested. It took him like almost 2 months to get his money. It took him like a month and a half.
That's not much.
That's
quick.
That's like quick.
Well, no. So it takes him like a month and a half to get his money out. Okay. He gets it. He invests it. This is in like May. I'd planned this Hawaii trip since January. Okay. He gives the money in May. The following week I go to Hawaii. I'd planned the Hawaii trip since January. He, in late July, decides he doesn't want to be part of it anymore. He decides he wants to pull his money out. 8 days later, he has a cashier's check for the full amount that he put in.
Yeah.
8 days. It took him a month and a half to give it to us. It took us 8 days to give it back.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, which is quick.
Yeah.
And especially in that world. And he wants to say that I used his money. How did I use your money? You got your money back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like these guys were in like a drug psychosis or something, and they're starting to like build like weird conspiracy theory in their head. And
there were some weird conspiracy theories that were built, and then there were a lot of dumb rednecks that wanted to believe anything other than what was going on.
Yeah.
And it's like one of the main ringleaders on social media and things like that wanted to run me down and beat me down. I bought tires for his truck. I helped him pay his rent. I paid him whenever I told him, I said, I don't need you right now. Like, I can't, because we had so many different things going at one time. I said, I don't need a salary right now. I can't pay another person's salary right now.
Yeah.
And he sent some emails from his work email, because he was starting to work for me, but, he was going to be commission only. And he sent some work emails from his current employer and got himself fired. And so I felt bad. And so I started paying him a salary. Well, what does he do? He turns around and he gets his brother to come work for us. And he gets 2 other boys to come work for us. And I literally had just told him I couldn't afford at the time to be paying salaries. And he's done lined up at this point in time like $200,000 a year worth of salaries.
Yeah.
I'm like, I did. I tried to take care of him. I did take care of him some.
Yeah.
But it's like, I told you I didn't do that. Like, and I told him too. I was like, y'all have got to make sales in order for me to be able to cover it.
Yeah.
And every time that they would get right on the cusp of making the sale, they would want an advance on some money. They would want this and they would want that. And we just finally had to cut it loose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they wanted to, then they wanted to run me down as, just this bad person. I mean, like.
Yeah.
The dude slept on my couch. You know what I mean? Like, I tried to take care of him, as much care of him as I could. But you can't help some people. You can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink.
Yeah.
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 But
Well, it's one of those things like we were talking about the other day. It's like, especially coming from a small town, it's like sometimes people just try to find reasons to hate on you for a reason. Like I noticed that too, coming from a small town. It's like people just talk about you because they come from the same situation and you're doing better than them, so they think that you're cheating. They think that you're doing some kind of criminal bullshit to get to where you are, when in reality it's like, no, I just actually work for the shit that I want.
That's like a small-minded mentality that anyone doing better than you is either cheating or lucky or something like that.
And one of the things they like to try to bring up was like one of my original businesses. You know, the one of the individuals there, the salesman there, he had said that if I would send him a check for the amount that we owed him for a couple loads of lumber that we had bought, that they would hold it until, because he knew the customer that we were selling to.
Oh, this is the story.
Yeah. So he knew the customer that we were selling to, and he knew that they were because they were shipping to China. So it took them a long time to get paid. So then, therefore, it took them a long time to pay us.
Yeah.
And so I told him, I was like, look, I don't have it. Like, I don't. And he's like, well, if you'll go ahead and give me a check, we'll hold it until you do have it. You just let us know. Well, then they went and tried to cash the checks, and whenever the checks bounced, it was $68,000 worth of checks.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have anything else to do. They went and tried to prosecute me for it. Well, then I paid the checks.
Yeah.
And then it went away. Well, a lot of the people in my hometown want to try to bring that up. I literally paid the debt.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? Like, like the debt was paid. Like, you know, whatever means necessary to get it paid. Like, we got it done.
Yeah.
And I still to this day haven't gotten completely paid from the customer that we had.
Yeah.
Because of all the stuff that was going on around all that.
Yeah.
He didn't feel comfortable paying me.
Yeah.
More or less, he used that as
as
a convenient escape to not have to pay. But I still haven't received all the compensation from that customer.
Yeah.
But I made sure that the vendor was paid.
Yeah.
Because I always do. I mean, it may not be, you know, as quickly as we want it to be, because I mean it's just how things work sometimes. You know, but you know, we always make sure we go back and make sure everybody's taken care of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, my thing is like, especially with people is, you know, I want to take as good a care of you as I'd want somebody to take care of me. And so I try to go above and beyond to take care of people that work for me.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times it ends up biting me in the butt.
I was going to say a lot of times it seems like you're too nice some of the times.
A lot of the times you've been around it, you've seen it just this last week. You know, with people that, you know, like you know, on just jobs that we're working on these consulting gigs that we've got right now. You know, the guys that are working from us are working for us. You know, we sent them money to eat steaks or go eat barbecue on the nights because they'd done really good work for us.
Yeah.
Then come to find out they stole $12,000 worth of material from us.
Just recently?
Just this past week.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And so we've been dealing through that, you know. But
sorry.
But you know what I mean? Like, you go above and beyond to try to be nice to people.
Yeah.
And you find out that they're stealing from you.
Yeah.
But I mean, what do? You can't change the way that you act because of the way somebody else acts.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You know, and so I mean, all I can do is I can kind of try to, you know, maybe I'm planting a seed. You know, you never know. But you know, I've had everything from you know, friends, religious leaders, family, like everybody pull away from me over this whole entire situation.
Really?
Yeah. But I mean, it is what it is because I mean, they can only believe what they see, and I'm not going to sit here and try to say that, you know, in the past that I was completely the most honest person, because I wasn't. You know, if it came down to trying to sell a particular thing or do a particular thing, I mean, you know, I'll let one flip, you know, let it ride just to, you know, to make a deal, you know, and then also too that kind of bleeds over. You can't do one thing at work and act a certain way at work and just flip a switch and act a different way at home.
Yeah. True.
You know what I mean? If you're a salesperson and you don't mind stretching the truth or telling a lie or, you know, whatever, yeah, it bleeds over at some point.
Yeah.
You know, and that was one thing that I was a real good salesman, but at what cost? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, you know, whenever these people come out with headlines like he's too good at lying, you know, not to do it, like, you know, it's easy for people to believe, you know, so it's going to take a long time for me to win that respect and that trust back.
So what's up with these guys now? They're in jail right now?
They're not now. So they basically, I guess a couple weeks ago, they got no bill, which essentially means that the charges weren't dropped, but they're not pursuing it at this moment. So if they get new evidence, more evidence, then they'll pursue it.
Or if you go missing.
If I go missing,
Or if they try it again?
yeah, essentially it you know, it protects me in a sense because, if something ever happens to me, then they know who to go to.
Yeah.
And so that's a blessing. But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care if they go to jail or not. Like, I mean, it is what it is. I hate that they did what they did. I mean, I just want to be left alone and let me do my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had no intentions of being kidnapped and having my whole world flipped up on its head.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it makes you who you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can either live through it and learn from it,
Mm-hmm.
or or not. And that's kind of where I've been. It was some of the darkest times of my life.
Yeah.
But am I a better man for it? I think I am.
Yeah. And see, that's a great way to go about it, because some people go through a situation like that and just label it as trauma, and then their whole life is ruined for the rest of their life. And it's much better to go about it the way that you
I've
have.
definitely got trauma.
Yeah.
I mean, I still get night terrors every now and then. I mean, it just is what it is. That's a very, I mean, you got to think, and all within probably a 3-week period of time, I lost my wife. I had stomach surgery at the time, we didn't know how bad it was, or if it was, they had mentioned that it might be an adenocarcinoma.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that is.
Which is just cancer.
Okay.
And so we didn't know to what extent until they actually went in and did the surgery and took it out.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know how bad that was. And so within that period of time, I had stomach surgery for cancer that I didn't know how bad it was. I lost my wife, and I was kidnapped.
Yeah.
All within about a 3-week period of time.
Was the divorce caused by this kidnapping, you think, or that
we
exacerbated?
had some external forces on our marriage before that.
Yeah.
And then just the pain and I mean, having all those people saying that kind of negative things about your husband probably can't be easy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna put any blame on her for any means, because I mean, I was absent a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to grow business.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was not there. Wasn't the probably wasn't the person that I should have been. Do I think that we probably could have went about things differently? Absolutely. But I don't blame her for it by any means.
Yeah.
It's life.
Yeah.
And we're both in different places now. We co-parent well, so
good.
no hard feelings on that end by no means. But I mean, I think everything plays into account. Factors in whenever you're talking about any kind of marital issues.
Yeah.
But it's kind of one of the things that I've learned, and I try to strive to do is, and I was telling Corbin about it, is I do my pies, which is my physical, my P, my intellectual is my I, my emotional is my E, and my spiritual is my S.
That's cool.
I try to make sure my pies are good. If my pies are okay, then everybody else can do what they want to do. I mean, it is what it is. I just know that I'm striving to be the best physical, intellectual, emotional, spiritual self.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm trying to do that and I'm focused on that, then the world around me can collapse. It's not going to be fun, but we'll regroup and we'll push through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It went from and it's tough whenever stuff like that hits too, because I mean, Tate talks about. No, he doesn't believe depression's real and this, that, and the other, whatever, because it's not real to him because he doesn't believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You get everything taken from you, and not physical either.
Mm-hmm.
Like you get like you feel like your family's being ripped away from you. You get all these different things. Your name is mud. Everybody that you thought were your friends have now come out talking bad about you or turned on you because they want their 15 minutes of fame.
Mm-hmm.
It's You get into a dark place, or you can if you allow yourself to really quickly.
Yeah.
And during those periods of time, that's whenever it's really like, who are you?
Yeah.
Like what kind of a man are you? It doesn't matter what everybody else is doing around you at that point in time. By that point, they can say and do whatever they want to. Like, who are you? Like, what kind of a person are you? Are you going to be that spiritual, physical leader that you need to be, both emotionally and intellectually?
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to be there? Or are you going to, succumb to the demons that are in your mind? And, I mean, and for full transparency, I mean, I almost did.
Yeah.
I would have, if not by the grace of God, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And Corbin kind of knows a little bit about that. I talked to him about it this week, but, I put the gun in my mouth and pulled the trigger. It clicked in my mouth. Yeah. So, I mean, no, I'm not saying that I'm stronger than anyone else. You know what I mean? I'm just fortunate to be here.
Why did it click?
I don't know. It was a brand new gun,
Loaded and everything.
loaded. I still got the bullet. It's got the indention on the
No way.
yeah.
Holy
9
shit.
millimeter.
Grace of God. You're not finished.
No.
There's a reason.
There's a reason I'm still here.
I always love the saying. It's like, if you think you haven't like found your purpose in life, or you think your time here is up, but you're still alive, it's not. Like there's still a reason that you're around.
Shortly after that, because I was staying at my parents' house, because I couldn't stay by myself.
Yeah.
I made them get all the firearms away. Like
Smart.
I made them get all of them away because I went from about 200 pounds down to 178.
Wow.
And
Just stress.
I didn't eat for 9 days straight one time, like 5 days straight another time, and then like 6 days straight another time. Like I'd go all these days without eating.
Yeah.
And I'd drink a little bit of water and maybe eat a little bit of something, and then I'd go just depression, just deep depression.
Yeah.
And the night that happened, I actually went to the church that we were attending at the time, crawled in through the back window of the church, and just laid on the floor at the altar until I got enough peace, and just laid there and prayed and cried.
Wow.
Until I got enough peace, I could go back home and go to sleep.
I feel like when you hit, I don't want to say rock bottom, but when you hit that state, like in another world, another timeline, like you'd be dead.
Oh yeah.
And so like everything from that point forward is like extra credit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like for all intents and purposes, you should be dead.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
now it's like everything you do is extra credit. And you know what I mean? It's like a whole second life once you come back from something like that. Or
No, absolutely. I mean, you really learn not to take life for granted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From that point forward,
I
really.
feel, yeah.
You know, and then even after that, though, it took me several months to kind of. I went to therapy. I did go to therapy, and therapy helped me out a lot. Honestly,
Yeah, really.
Just being able to talk about things, the different goals that they had me. You know what I mean? To boost my own mentality, my self worth, and things like that. Because I had a very, very, like, my self worth was in the dumps.
Yeah.
So
Well, because you're getting hit from like not just one thing, but like 2, 3 things at once.
man, it
Yeah,
was
like
That's what
terrible.
creates
like
a
every
depression,
area
like 2
of
or 3
life.
calamities at the same time.
Yeah.
And so, I went and got a job, a local job that I couldn't even make my child support payment. Like, it was that bad. Like, it was terrible. And so, got offered an opportunity to come back out to the oil field and start working again, helping a guy build a company, which is something I'm pretty good at whenever I'm focused on it. And so I came back out, and that was in May. And then, been kind of rocking and rolling ever since.
Yeah.
Probably some of the best work that I've ever done in my life have come from May to now. I've really been. Well, I mean, and
You hadn't seen the things that I've seen.
Yeah.
Like he's killing.
I'm putting it together pretty quick.
Yeah.
And not so much so, and to be honest with you, I've been proud of myself in one sense. Like, I haven't let my kids suffer for me.
That's good.
Which I did before, though. Like, I did a lot before. Like, my kids missed me a lot.
Yeah.
And I wasn't there. They miss me now some, but I'm home a lot.
Yeah.
And I've got a place, that they can go to, all hang out, this, that, and the other whenever I'm home. It's a much better situation than it was.
Yeah.
And
Do you have any like mantras or sayings in your head that you say now to remind yourself to stay strong or to focus on the pies?
no, I've got, whenever I get down in the dumps, it was actually something that Andy Grammer does.
Okay.
Before some of his concerts, but my therapist had me do something similar, but it's more or less, it's a spoken word affirmation that I've done in the past. It's more or less, it's all my insecurities, it's everything about me. It gets it out there, and then it tells me how to control it.
I really like your Twitter. You're a good writer.
I appreciate it.
And for a country dude, you have pretty deep thoughts.
I mean, I've been through a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Andrew Tate sent out an email the other day about despair in this Russia situation, but he's basically said that like you can reframe like despair, like these really deep, traumas and stuff, as a source of infinite power. Because if you have a source of infinite pain, and pain is gain, it's basically like having like a infinite power source inside of you. If you can harness that and use it for fuel, and I think that's pretty cool because, like you said, how you label things trauma, like, I don't know, like I don't have a story like that where I have stories, where I've had things hit, but it just sounds like complaining. I think when I say it,
Yeah.
And so,
Well, I think people just have the ability to choose what they label trauma, because something
Yeah.
that might be traumatic to you or her or somebody else, I might not consider traumatic.
well, I think it's like getting
You get to-
shot. Like it hurt. Yeah, it was a thing, but it can be recovered from and moved on, and
Yeah.
maybe even ways reframed to like makes you stronger somehow.
You get to a point of despair whenever you're being held against your will, and you're
Yeah.
being told that your next move could kill your kids,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're thinking to yourself, it's like, these babies didn't do anything to deserve, regardless of if I deserve it or not.
Yeah.
They didn't do anything to deserve what's happening,
Yeah.
and you don't know that they don't have them.
Yeah.
And so you're sitting there in your mind, and you're just thinking about how scared.
Were you praying during that time?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And and just sitting there, and the hopelessness that comes with that. I had made peace with the fact that I was dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I was praying to God. I said, I don't care if you get me out of this, if you get my babies out of this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, whatever I've got to do after this, if you get my babies out of this, I don't care. Because I was, and the mentality that comes after you have gone to a place to where you were okay with being dead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're okay with the fact that like I had essentially like an elderly person, whenever they pass on, they're like, sometimes they're like, it's okay, you can let me go, type of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I was 28 years old, and I'd already come to grips with the fact that I was going to be dead, and I was okay with it if it meant my kids surviving.
Yeah.
I'd come to grips with the fact that my son, who I'd been wanting for forever, I'd wanted a boy.
Mm-hmm.
My son, who was not going to be born until March the 23rd, I was never going to get to see him grow up. I was never going to get to meet my son. Those were the thoughts that I was thinking about, and, whenever that happens, you'll do anything, you know what I mean? You'll say anything, you'll do, to get out, to be, present, to be, and then you get out and you think that you're free, and then you get hit with, and like I said, no fault of her own. I don't blame her at all. But you get hit with, I'm leaving you type thing. And then, the pain that brings, and then, all the different things that happen after that, whatever. But, those things, like, it's just like, you feel like you can't get any lower, and then you get a little bit lower, and then you're sitting there and you're trying to gasp for air, and you just can't breathe. And like I spent probably 9 weeks, like, I would breathe, but it was just like I wasn't there. I was dead. You know what I mean? Like, my body was alive, but oxygen gives life.
Yeah.
It was like it just wasn't doing anything for me. Like, I was at a constant state of anxiety attack.
Yeah.
For almost 9 weeks, and it just it's a hard place to be at. Whenever the light in your eyes goes away, you know what I mean? Like, there comes a point, and you can tell whenever a child becomes an adult, because
The light just fades.
the light starts to fade.
Yeah.
They start realizing, they're that life's just not all fairies and pony, and this and that and the other. Well, there's another death after that. That child has died whenever it gets to that point. Now, they're still alive, obviously. They're still a human being, but now they're transitioning into that adulthood. And that's I've seen it happen since I've been grown with other people and things like that.
Yeah.
And I don't want it to rush with my kids. Like,
Yeah.
I love their innocence, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like, too, that there's another death that only people that go through traumatic experiences feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you can see not just like the light from their eyes go, but you can see death in their eyes.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In certain situations, you see it a lot from people that have gone through war and things like that. And I'm not trying to take away from any of the soldiers that have, seen some terrible things. But this is my war. You know what I mean? Like, the battle that I fought inside my brain and externally as well. So I mean, it's tough.
Bryce, what do you think God is?
I think that if everything I went through was without purpose, that I would be angry instead of wanting to try to help other people, wanting to try to, like, my nonprofit. I don't know if you know anything about
I
this.
haven't heard about that. No.
So I have a nonprofit. It's in Akwa Ibom, Nigeria. We provide clean drinking water to areas that don't have it.
That's awesome.
Whether it be cases of water. We typically do cartons of water that have scriptures on it. And Nigeria's got like almost 200 different languages.
Yeah.
So, the scriptures will be in various different languages. And so, I feel like if everything that I've went through to this point was for nothing, that, like, I may as well go ahead and get the pistol back out and just end it. Like, what meaning is there?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And I feel like that each situation and everybody lives a certain way or goes through certain things for a certain purpose.
Yeah.
Whatever their purpose is, each person's got a different purpose. I feel like, God blessed me with intelligence enough that I could never be mediocre. That's just not my... If I was mediocre, it would be, a huge travesty to society.
Yeah.
Because, there's so many things that I can do to help by not being mediocre.
Yeah.
And I think that God is the weaver of each and every person's story for whatever the purpose might be. And I think that's my thing. I think that if there is no God, if there is no end goal, there is no purpose, then what's the point?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's God to me. Is He is the weaver of our story.
Yeah.
He is, the Alpha, the Omega, and He's what we're striving to get to in heaven at the end. And that's, everything that follows and aligns to His word. And I do believe, that His word is a great, compass for us to live our lives. That's for me, that's who God is.
Yeah.
I've always liked the saying, it used to be my Instagram bio, I am a spiritual being living in a physical reality using my guidance system provided by God to do good in this world so I can find my way back home.
I like that.
Yeah.
So, I think that, I can't imagine all the pain and the suffering and the things that have happened in this world, both to families, to children, to adults. I can't imagine it being like everybody's like, why would God allow that to happen? I don't know, but it's got to have a purpose.
Yeah.
I don't know what the purpose is, but there's got to be a purpose for this.
Yeah.
And I feel like too that a lot of times people don't pursue their purpose.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to use a random name, but little Tommy getting cancer, and his dad's a scientist, a biologist, and he's got all the resources to go and do everything he can to try to cure cancer. But all he does is whenever little Tommy, his son, dies, he goes and digs a hole and just basically lives in it and doesn't want to get up, doesn't want to go to work. I get that. That's a phase, but you can't live there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like, little Tommy getting cancer, as terrible as that is, could have been, for his dad's purpose to go and pursue a cure. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what the whole, but I feel like that
It's a whole tapestry, and everyone's lives is going like this.
Yeah,
and
there's
God
just a reason
sees.
for everything. Like,
Yeah.
everything happens the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Whether it's a bullshit that you have to go through in order to learn lessons from it to become the man that you are today.
Yeah.
I think it was you I was talking to the other day, but we were riding, and it was like the number of people that there are no reason I should have ever met them, but I saw them one day on TV or on YouTube or on these various different platforms, and I said, and I knew in my head somehow, some way I've got to meet them because of something that I've got going on.
Yeah.
And then the following week I'd get a phone call from them, or somebody would invite me to an event and they'd be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like famous people.
Just the random synchronicities.
Random famous people that you wouldn't even have imagined. You know what I mean? It's just it's mind boggling. You know what I mean? It's like whenever we were in the cannabis business, we were at a Crystals fast food. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but they were having
burgers,
this
small burgers,
the little small ones. So we were at a convention in Vegas that the owner of Crystals was putting on.
Mm-hmm.
Ray J, the artist.
Yeah.
He is their head of marketing, or was at the time.
Okay.
He's one of their directors of marketing. So he's there, and 2 Chainz is there, and you know, all these like different artists that I had seen growing up, and then they introduced us to this guy that ended up being, you know, someone in the cannabis space.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, we'd have never, like, how do you get to this point? That you could have never predicted that this and this and this would lead to this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, and then that guy ended up, you know, he's probably one of the heaviest hitters in the cannabis space.
Yeah. Wow.
But, you know, but you know, we'd have never met if it wouldn't have been for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's just the way the world works, man. The way that there's no, you know, I don't see how you can, you know, look at how intricately designed things are,
Yeah.
and not think that there's a creator.
Yeah, absolutely.
I totally agree.
It's like I never thought I would be where I am today. I mean, 2 years ago I was living in a 450 square foot duplex in the middle of the ghetto. Like, it's just crazy
Yeah.
how things happen
Yeah.
whenever you want them
Especially when you look back a couple years and you're like, man, I was at my lowest a couple years ago, and now everything's great.
Mm-hmm.
And I meet all these people I never would have thought a million years I would have crossed paths with. But here
Yeah.
I am, and things are going good, and the future is great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think when you go through something like that, like you talked about, you know, people that were your friends, now they're not, now they're jumping on this bandwagon. One of the bad things is it really kind of lets you know who your real friends are.
That's for sure.
But the good thing is now you don't have to devote energy to these people that are not friends, and you can focus your energy on real friends.
Well, now
that,
you got
know?
a good filtering system.
Oh man,
Now you can
I'm pretty
read.
quick with it now.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can probably read people even better now.
Oh, I saw them fast. Let me tell
Yeah.
you.
Mm-hmm.
What? So I've been in that position where I was looking at guns like they were a box of Pringles, where I was like, man, that gun is my ticket out of here. All the stress will be gone. You know, what tips do you have for somebody that's like in the very bottom of their weakest moment?
The pies. I'm telling
Okay.
you. Because
Can you go over them one more time?
Yeah. So if you're not at your peak, or if any of one of your 4 fundamental pies are you know, failing or weak, faltering, you're susceptible for you know something slipping in and
Yeah.
getting in your mind. So if you're not physically like doing stuff, if you're just laying around being a couch potato, you're gonna get depressed really quick.
Yeah.
If you're not doing something that's intellectually stimulating, reading, learning, doing whatever, you know, you just get what I call brain rot.
Yeah.
You know, if you're letting your emotions control, you know, your actions, and you're not thinking logically, you're not using your intellectual self a little bit,
Yeah.
at least to discern, you know, because I mean, here's the thing, you know, a lot of things that people say are not meant the way they say them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if I react off of emotion immediately, I will cut that person out. And that person could offer me a lot down the road.
Yeah.
And it's all because we grew up in a different area, and they speak or present a point differently than what I'm used to.
Mm.
And so I have to be able to take and listen to this stuff and not react emotionally because of the way that I was raised or the area that I was raised, you know. And then as far as your spiritual self goes, your first 3, as important as they are, if your spiritual self is not, you know, if you're not really, really focusing on your spiritual self, all 3 of the other ones are for naught, honestly. But they all 4 together, they'll keep you out of that space.
That's true
If you-
strength.
If you can just focus on, and a lot of times you're not failing at your physical, your intellectual, your emotional, and your spiritual all at the same time.
It's just one
Usually,
section.
usually it's, oh man, you know, all these are doing good, but I haven't been working out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I need to really start. You know, I need to start doing something. That's where I'm at right now, honestly. You know, I mean, I haven't. So, but like, or you know, oh man, I'm doing good on my physical, my intellectual, my emotional, but you know, I haven't really been doing anything spiritual. You know, I haven't. Because man, that's the most vital part of your entire body is your spiritual self. You can be
I would agree with
completely hopeless, and your spiritual self can bring you out of that hopelessness.
Yeah.
Where none of the other, your physical, your intellectual, and your emotional, they can't bring you out of a dark place like your spiritual can.
Yeah.
I agree.
And so, but they all 4 are equally as important.
Mm-hmm.
And so that'd be my
You know, I just wrote a tweet that your story just reminded me of. Let me read this real quick if you guys don't
I
mind.
think, like, right now, like, based on those, I think where I need to work on most is my spiritual. Because there was a point in time after I had graduated, like, I grew up Methodist, like, just, like, heavy, like, old school Methodist, like, hymns church, like, nothing modern, and they pushed it on us, and I just didn't like it. And I got to the point where I was like, oh, all Christians are hypocritical. They only take the word in the Bible and use it to their own advantage whenever they need to and stuff. And so there's a point in time that I just, like, didn't want to believe in God.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
The,
no, I
the
don't
thing
want
about that too, that statement is, I mean, honestly, it's true. But here's the thing, though: the people that are at church, they're seeking for something too. They're not perfect. You know, people aren't perfect. So I mean, you have to take. I've struggled with this, and I've done a lot better lately. With, you know, people in church have hurt me a lot.
Yeah.
And but it's because I allowed them to hurt me a lot. But you know, certain things that have been said about me, and you know, way people have acted, it hurt a lot. But you have to take into account, like, they're not even if they're the pastor of a church, you know, somewhere, or they're an evangelist, they're not perfect.
They could have skeletons in their closet.
Well, and even if they don't have skeletons in their closet, they're human.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you look back at any of the you know, these titans of the faith, if you look back at, like, you know, the disciples, they walked with Jesus, and they still stumbled. And you know, let the flesh control them in different points in time.
Yeah.
So even if they, after watching and walking with Jesus and following him and things like that in person, like physically seeing these acts, if they could allow the flesh to occasionally rise up and make mistakes and things like that, like, well, who's to say that we don't?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, obviously, we should strive daily not to, but you can't. I can't be mad at somebody. I mean, it frustrates me, but I can't be mad at somebody for,
being human.
Being human, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, all I can do is pray for them.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of my thing that I've, you know, when I'm really frustrated at somebody and I really, like, I want to talk bad about them because of the way that they've acted and treated me, I'm like, okay, Bryce, you got to step back. You got to pray for them.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
So I wrote this, and it reminded me exactly of the story you just told me. I said, if you find yourself at your weakest point in life, that doesn't mean you are weak. You've overcome so much, and you will overcome this too. Climb out of the hole. Fight.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, everybody's going to be at their lowest at some point.
Yeah.
You know, whether you choose for that lowest point to bury you and for you to be a corpse or for you to be a seed, that's your decision.
Yeah.
You know, if you allow yourself to be a corpse, then you'll stay in that hole forever. If you allow yourself to be a seed, it won't be long.
Yeah.
You know, you'll be out.
Do you have a favorite book or passage in the Bible?
Or
story or
I mean, I love Proverbs.
Yeah.
I read that book keeps coming up in my reality. Like, I keep hearing that
I love Proverbs,
everywhere, and I
then
think I need to go and read it.
I read
beautiful
through First and Second Kings, like, since the beginning of the year. I probably read through them 3 times already.
Yeah.
Just and not even including with, like, my other reading that I do, like because I'm trying to read through the Bible.
Yeah.
This year again, I did it last year, but you know, First and Second Kings has got a lot of, you know, really, really powerful stories in it.
Kings and Proverbs. I'm gonna have to read both those. Proverbs just keep popping up everywhere. Like, I
Yeah.
keep seeing it everywhere.
It's a very unique book in the Bible. It's like a poems and wisdom versus, say, like a timeline of events that happened.
Really?
Yeah.
I love how I can't remember if it was Elijah or Elisha. I always get them mixed up. But whenever the prophets of Baal are trying to, you know, they're trying to bring down fire onto their sacrifice, and he's sitting there and he gave them, you know, first shot at it basically, and he's like, you know, scream louder, maybe he's asleep, you know, and he's just taunting them. I love that.
He told him, didn't he tell him, okay, now wet the altar?
Well, that's after they finished.
Yeah.
But while they're trying to, like, and they're screaming, they're cutting themselves, and they're, you know, doing all this and that. He's like, maybe he's using the bathroom, or maybe he's asleep. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just taunting them. And then he's like, all right, now dig a moat around this thing.
Yeah.
Fill the moat up and cover it in water. And the fire came down and licked all the water up out of the moat, completely incinerated the sacrifice and everything. You know, like, but that's probably my favorite. It's just like that dude, the gall of that, like the trust he had in God.
Can you imagine that?
Because he knew, like, he might be making fun of him right now, but in just a minute he's got to step up, and something's got to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the sheer faith that this guy's got to talk crap,
Yeah.
and then turn around and then that happened. Like, it's impressive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's probably one of my favorite. Like, because that's just the ultimate example of just
Faith.
Like, because this dude's like, because you know, like the UFC fighters, you know, they'll back and forth, this, that, and the other, and you can tell which one really believes what he's saying,
Yeah.
and which one isn't.
Yeah.
Like for him to just know, like, I'm good, you know, it's wild to me, because I mean, I'd be doubting. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't know that I could have that kind of faith.
Yeah.
And I should. You know, God's seen me through too much for me not to, but it's just like,
It's like,
that's wild.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
yeah.
Well, so Bryce, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
I don't know. Hopefully above ground.
You'll be above ground. What are your business goals?
Make enough money to retire.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, spend some time with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's pretty much, you know, get to the point to where I'm not having to be so hands-on, so I can be home more.
Yeah.
That's primary.
Are you wanting to sell your business for like a lump sum in the future,
I mean,
or just keep catching residual?
a little bit of both. Maybe some of the stuff we're involved in. You know, like the consulting businesses, I probably
Hold on.
keep
Yep.
them going, because that's just residual money coming in all the time. But you know, anything else that I'm involved in, you know, if the partners, if the guys that, you know, if they want out, you know, I'm always down to exit.
Yeah.
I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about that the other day. Just like separating yourself. Like, all these people are like, okay, I'll be happy when. I'll be
Yeah.
happy when. I'll be happy when I get this girl, do this thing, and this
Yeah.
person. And it just separates you from where you are now and happiness. So you're
Agreed.
always going to be in a state of like sorrow or grief.
Well, I wrote that in
Yeah.
the Forbes article.
Yeah.
And it was basically enjoy the here and now.
Yeah.
And just talking about how a lot of entrepreneurs, you know, they don't enjoy the process. You know, they enjoy, or they think that they're going to enjoy it at the end, but entrepreneurship especially isn't something that you can just enjoy at the end. If you don't enjoy it along the way, it's going to fail,
Yeah.
because, you know, you lose that spark, you lose that light. A lot of people, I think they get so caught up in the all right, so we lost that big contract this week.
Yeah.
It paid $70,000 a month. So, you know, that's massive.
Yeah.
And everybody else was
Flipping lid.
They were.
Yeah.
And what did I say?
I don't remember word for word. That was a long time. Like, you're used to all this shit happening at once. I'm just now getting into the world trying to piece everything together.
If I'm not mistaken, my first thing was, well, that's good. I'd gotten kind of lazy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And literally, that's what I told Corbin.
Yeah.
I said, that's good. I'd gotten kind of lazy. I need to go get some more work anyways. We had been
Yeah.
too reliant on that work, which, I mean, it paid everybody's payroll. You know what I mean? Like, we had several guys that relied on it, but, you know, we've got other things that make payroll. It's not, you know, that's not the end of the world. That was just $70,000 a month's a pretty big hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet.
You know, so
Yeah, but within a week now, y'all have other stuff up and running that's going to be...
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, but we could have had it while we had the $70,000 a month
Yeah.
contract too, but I got complicit and
Yeah.
and you know,
It's one of those things you like, you're so able to see, like, the blessings in the curses.
I try to. I'm not just necessarily like.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say that it's every time, but
Yeah.
I try.
Yeah.
I try really hard.
Yeah.
If I didn't, like, I mean, I would have already, you know, started a pistol. We'd be out here. Like, you know, it'd been over with.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's definitely, and I'm not the same either. And you can talk to different ones that we're associated with. I'm not the same person now that I was a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
You know, I used to get stressed out over everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I still stress. I stress more now about how I'm going to make sure that everybody's families are taken care of that work for me.
Yeah.
Used to be I just stress over like little stuff that made no sense while I'm even stressing about it, but I was stressing.
Yeah.
And then it in turn, it put stress on my ex-wife, which then led to problems. And then, so trying to avoid that now and apply that to my new relationship, it's just, it's not, it's not conducive for a healthy anything.
So, Bryce, what would you say your superpower is?
I'm hard to kill.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good at seeing the big picture too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like stepping back and
You got the
being
vision.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah, that's something you're helping open my eyes to, is seeing the bigger picture. But no.
It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Nothing's the end of the world.
Yeah.
No,
I'm super excited just to see like I've only been hanging out with you for like a week, and I feel like I've learned more with you in this week than I have the last 2 years. Like, it's crazy. And the things that you can observe whenever you surround yourself with people that are doing things that you want to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you had gosh, you've given a lot of good advice. I don't know if this will be a good question, but like if there's like one big piece of advice that you want to give to like the listeners, just in like the business space, what would that be?
a lot of people get hung up on the idea of the business, and they think that they've got to plan it out perfectly to get started. You're never going to plan it out perfectly, and everything that you just planned is going to go to crap within a week. So if you're wanting to do something and you're wondering when the best time to jump in and do it is, just go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
You know, when you're obsessing over it every night and you're thinking about all the different ways that you can make it happen, that's when you should be doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not after you've worked all the kinks in your head out and things like that. Because I can guarantee you, the week you start it, it's going to take a left turn, and it's not going to do what you thought it was going to do, and probably for the better.
Yeah.
At least 50% of the time, I'd say it's probably for the better. If you just, instead of trying to, fit a round peg into a square box, just go with whatever you know what I mean, and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it works out. A lot of people try to wrangle it back in because, no, this doesn't fit the vision that I had.
Yeah.
And then it's not long, and it becomes a task instead of I get to do this, I have to do this.
Yeah.
And then whenever it does that, you may as well close the doors.
Yeah. Modern Wisdom, that one podcast, he talked about it one time. He gave a really good quote. It's like, talking about the thing isn't doing the thing, planning the thing isn't doing the thing, doing the thing is doing the thing.
Yeah.
You'll learn more in 1 week of actually doing the thing than you will spending 2 years planning it.
Yeah.
Alex Hormozy said, he was talking about a pottery teacher. He gave 2 classes, a different assignment. The first one he gave was they only built 1 pot that semester or that year, but they had to build the best pot that they could build.
Yeah.
The other one didn't have any kind of, it doesn't matter how good or bad it is. They're going straight quantity, how many you can build in a year, and you get graded based off of how many you can build in a year. The ones who built the most in a year, their pots, they built more of them, and their quality was better than the ones that just built 1.
Interesting.
And it goes back to that rule of 1,000 hours.
Yeah.
You can sit there and plan it in your head all you want to. You sit there and plan it in your head all you want to. You can, think that you've got it all figured out until you start doing it.
Yeah.
That you're never gonna be, more than just a thought on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
And well, Bryce, this was awesome. Thanks,
I
brother.
enjoyed it.